Redditors who have been in prison, what's the most disturbing thing you've seen or heard in prison? Probably seeing the lengths people will go to in order to get opioid replacement therapy like Boop or Suboxone, in order to either sell to someone else or because they're being intimidated to give their dosage to someone. Inmates have to swallow the liquid in front of a guard and nurse obviously, but they have figured out ways around this. Creating little paper catchments and sticking them in their throat, or just being empty-stomached and vomiting it up when they get back to their cells. Wait. So they harvest their own vomited Suboxone and sell/give it to someone else? Yes they do. They typically vomit through a prison sock, clean-ish, maybe, to filter out the chunks, and then yes, someone will drink that vomit to try to get an opioid high, or stave off withdrawals. Well, I'm out. Bye everyone. The trick, as mentioned above, is the empty stomach. I heard a third-hand story of a guy getting his dose, and instead of going back to Gen Pop, he got sent to classification and was served a meal while waiting. About 2 hours had passed between drinking his methadone and getting back to GP, with a full meal consumed on top of that. Apparently, his customer was so dope sick that he begged the patient to vomit into a cup anyway, that he would still pay the arranged fee. But he obliged and puked up like 2 liters of thick, brown sludge, and they had to add tons of water to thin it out enough to filter it through the sock. But he apparently drank it anyway. That's all I know, and even though I never witnessed it personally, the thought of it still comes to me at night sometimes and I shudder. The worst for me were the dietary punishments. There was that court ruling years ago that Nutriloaf is not cruel/unusual punishment, and there's no requirement that prison food be appealing to eat, as long as it's safe. So since then, these sort of punishments got worse and worse. If you weren't a model inmate, your food basically looked and smelled like stale canned cat food. They'd mix it with vinegar too, to make it even harder to stomach. I ate/attempted to eat Nutriloaf in solitary in county. Then they moved me into a cell with a guy who was there on murder charges, and he nursed me back to health. He was like, "Oh shit man, help yourself to my commissary, seriously, eat man, eat." Got more empathy out of the murder suspect than the jail staff. In the prison I was in, the inmates had a policy that sex offenders were not allowed to masturbate, find any sexual relief. I was surprised how seriously they took it. They'd assign people to take shifts watching over the person, check their bunk every day for semen stains, etc. Some of them would purposefully try to break rules to get sent to solitary just to do it, but even the officers seemed to be in on it, and wouldn't send them there. Every camp I was at, there were different forms of extortion or punishment being doled out by gang members onto sex offenders. It was common practice to keep some form of proof of your charges so that you could prove you didn't have those charges if someone tried you on that bullshit. Spent a year at a minimum security prison farm in the South. I thought it would be a better experience due to less violence, but it's hell. I had to spend 50 hours a week, cleaning huge pig barns and chicken coops. Preparing slop for the pigs out of the most repulsive restaurant/grocery waste that was dumped on site every week. We got almost no visitors because we all stunk so bad. If you broke prison rules, you'd lose shovel privileges, which was its own special hell. You'd still get thin gloves to muck pig pens with, to meet minimum safety requirements, but no shovel. New arrivals who were city boys, like me, often threw up a ton their first week. Brazil. Once the lights went out, you'd start hearing scraping noises on the concrete. It was gang members sharpening their homemade knives on the concrete floor. Somebody was about to get killed when you heard that noise. Stuff straight out of hell. There was an inmate with a colostomy at a medical unit I worked at that would let the other inmates blank his stoma for commissary. I shit you not. I believe this. I read on another thread like this that someone who rented out their stoma ended up with herpes in it.
I've been to prison twice. Once for assaulting my stepmom, she deserved it, and once for solicitation. I'm a woman and I don't know how much different our prisons compared to the men's. For one, every prison is different. From how it's ran, to what level. County, state, federal, or even just a stay at the local precinct. Every state runs their prisons differently as well. The most disturbing thing was the amount of sex going on. Between inmates was bad. But an insane amount of sex was going on with the guards and inmates. It was under the guise of consensual sex, but you couldn't really say no to them. It's not that the guards would directly retaliate. But they wouldn't protect you. Or possibly leave you in a bad situation. One of the newer girls refused to do anything with the guards. They left her handcuffed with an aggressive inmate. It wasn't pretty. Stuff like that was common. Or you'll be roommates with a rapist. The other thing that was really disturbing was how some of the girls owned other girls. The only known pedophile we had was a creepy older lady. She owned several girls. All petite younger girls, of course. We nicknamed them her daughters.
That last paragraph. Not me, but my aunt, who was convicted of a pretty serious white-collar crime, did time in a federal prison known for holding the worst of the worst violent female prisoners, which the popular TV series Orange is the New Black is based on. When she got out, all my cousins had to get together at her place where she told us all her prison stories, and by far the craziest one was about a woman who was in there for killing and cooking her infant child, then feeding it to her husband for having an affair. Holy shit, that got fucking dark fast. I went to prison for 2 years in the north of the USA, and the most disturbing thing that I've heard is the no waffle stomping rule. A waffle stomp, FYI, is when someone shits over a shower drain and clogs by stomping on it, hence its name. Apparently people did it so much there that made a rule out of it. People are weird. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more crazy stories from Reddit.